what actually allows us to be truly human. If we didn't feel emotions, we wouldn't be the way we are. And it's actually what makes us superior to artificial intelligence, why it's so difficult to create machines that will react as human beings, because the emotional factor is really key. On the other hand, emotions are our first language. I don't know how many of you have children, but you soon see, no, that they use emotions as a primary tool of communication, and they can communicate very well their desires and their needs without needing verbal communication.
Emotions are a universal language. I mean, if you think right now how we are using the emoticons, or why the emoticons are a success in the everyday communication right now, it's because it's a simple way to dial up the communication and to level the level of the words that we put in. Okay without a smiley is totally different than just an okay. I have to understand what the emotion of the word is behind. So I think that what the emoticons are doing is just like helping us to connect across all the globe with the people that because now we are more globalized world, so we need to understand the emotions all over the place. And the emoticons, I think that they are helping us to do that bonding. So,
yeah. It's harder, no? Like a Japanese and a Portuguese will very difficult communicate by language, and with just 2-3 emoticons, the information goes both ways. Emotions are also very important signals. They give us information that will help us adapt to our environment. If we feel fear, if we are threatened by something, and we will fear, that fear will make us action and do something about it. Actually, the word emotions comes from motions, because emotions lead to action. And if we hadn't these emotions to help us get that information and react, we would probably have been extinguished many, many, many years ago as well. And also, emotions dominate our perception, and it's probably happened to all of you. If in the morning when you have breakfast, you have a nice breakfast and a nice wake up, or you have a fight with your partner or whatever, your trip from home to work, which is the same one every day, changes according to your mood. And you will see the trees differently, you will perceive the people that you cross by differently, you will perceive the shop that you see every day differently, because your emotions impact directly and absolutely on your perception. And if they impact your perception, they really guide your decisions, because most part of the decisions is based on specific perceptions. And this follows a logic, as we talk about it, but this is something that it couldn't be proven before neuroscience came to life, because neuroscience manages to measure your brain activity without you having to declare or to be conscious of anything. And neuroscience has demonstrated how much impact emotions have in decisions. We're going to show you an experiment that Damasio organized with people that had their right half of their brain compromised. They had been hurt for some reason, and they were people that couldn't feel emotions. They were logical, they could understand many concepts, they could more or less follow a normal life, but they had one particular issue in common.
Damasio, a revolutionary Portuguese-American neuroscientist, carried out a study with people who had sustained damage to the part of the brain that generates emotions. He discovered that they were normal, apart from the fact that they could not feel emotions. But all of them had something in common. They could not take decisions, not even from a logical viewpoint, simple or not. Coffee or tea, jeans or a skirt. Decisions all have pros and cons, but without an emotional way of deciding, these people are incapable of arriving at a decision.
Why do we don't realize this about the emotions? It's basically because our brain is lazy. I mean, our brain is not using the whole percentage of the brain. It's just a little bit, and the 95% of the things that we see or that we interact goes to the unconscious memory. To try to explain it, it's like a computer, right? The majority of the data is in the hard disk, but you need the RAM to work with. So if it's in the hard disk, you don't have to carry it all the time. You have to go there sometimes and search it and go back. To put it in numbers, if you think everything that we receive goes, just 40 bits goes to the conscious, and 10.9 millions of bits goes to the unconscious. And they go there, and it's sometimes grab your attention a little bit. And that is, you saw that, all that information is in your unconscious. It's just that some things trigger you with emotions.
As if you needed to actually be conscious of everything, all the inputs that you have, your brain would literally collapse. So it's really a survival skill of the brain to select what's more relevant to me and, put in the unconscious everything that I don't particularly need.
I like to say it's lazy.
It optimizes its energy, we say.
Okay. This is the video. I hope that you see something.
Did anybody see the Eurobest billboard? No? Apparently, that's what really stands out for us, probably. And because the rest is that all that 95% that goes to the unconscious. So, if emotions impact decisions so much, and we've seen that, even though we're not conscious of this, what about purchasing decisions? Is it the same for purchasing decisions? Can you think for a couple of seconds of the last purchasing decision you took? Maybe shoes, maybe a tablet or a trip. Can you stop for 2 seconds and think? Can you now think if that was an emotional or a rational decision? Well, you all know your answers. Even the greatest, even if you do a huge investigation, because some decisions and some purchases require a lot of investigation, even if you follow a rigorous investigation process and you compare and you go to different shops and you ask friends about it, even the most rigorous process at the end, usually what triggers the purchase is an emotion. All that work that you've done doesn't go to the garbage. It's very useful because it will help you justify the decision that you take and post-rationalize it. But the specific, the moment of the purchase in the 85% of the cases is emotional. And that's something that neuroscience tells us. Okay? So you might have been in the 15%, whatever you thought, or you might have been in the 85%. But the reality is that 85% of purchasing decisions are emotional. And this is another concept that we think is very important because one of the reasons why the purchasing decisions are so emotional is because money actually is very emotional. You would think that money is the most soulless concept in the world. No? Money seems something cold with no attachment to it. And the reality is every piece of money, every coin or every bill represents the effort that it actually took you to earn that money. And if I need to exchange this bill for a product, the product would better have an emotional value at least as much as big, as great as my bill, or even greater. And otherwise, I will not be willing to exchange it. So for that exchange to take place, the emotional value of what I'm buying has to be greater than money. So we believe that the less emotion, the less purchase, the less emotional value brands have, the less they will trigger purchase. That's where we're so much into. We really believe that it's so important to build emotional brands.
Okay, if we understand that emotions are so important, who are the best people to chat with the emotions, or through the emotions, to get with the emotions? The legend, the myth says that the best ones are the Latins. The Latins because how we are intrinsically, what the word. So if the Latins should be the best one, we wanted to test that even though we was Latin. So we asked more than 45 people, like 46. We asked 45 or 46 people, specialists in the field of communication, that they have been working with Latins, they are Latins that are working abroad, or they have some contact with Latin in the everyday work, or in the everyday work. And we made them a lot of questions, and we did a study about that behavior and how that behavior drives emotions or brings emotions to the brands. And we found out 4 key things that we want to share with you about how the Latin spirit or the Latin approach to the emotions help us to sell more. The first one is about feeling Latin. Okay? How is this have more layers and more layers to the communication. So the Latins try to avoid that. And I want to share a piece of work that is not Latin, but I think that has the spirit of what I'm saying. It's really straightforward, has that magic, and it's not that much complicated what they have to say, to just prove it to your face. And I think that you will like it as well.
I've had my ups and downs, my fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection, a pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics, and a mindset to master the most epic of splits.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time? And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows, only time? We
Yeah, we would have loved to do it. The second takeout is the idea of acting Latin. And all our interviews is we have 46 experts. Where are we? Here. It's about being spontaneous. Yeah? And touch people, ask questions. Latin's something that Angela Merkel, for example, is not very proud of us in that sense, but we don't mind being politically incorrect. We're very much about, we're not afraid to connect, we go out to the street, we talk to people, and it's okay to make people uncomfortable sometimes. And in a business, if you want to be relevant, you have to tackle issues that are just there and they're true, and don't try to disguise them under the politically correct world. And we're going to show you another example of Ponce Buenos Aires, our agency in Argentina, which is tackling an issue that is not exactly politically correct, because it's about women and how women are we are very unpredictable, and we change our mood very well. And you could have thought that this would offend some of your target audience. How are we going to talk about this? Because this is going to actually offend women. They're not going to like it, and blah, 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 blah. The reality is that they're putting on stage something that is true, and they do it in a way that we all find relevant and we all can all identify with it.
La donna è mobile, qual piuma al vento, muta di accento e di pensiero, sempre un'amabile leggiandro viso, e il pianto in riso del menzognero, l'auto è mobile, qual piuma al vento, muta di accento e di pensiero.
Okay, and the third learning, or the third key thing up that we got is like the playfulness that the Latins have always. So you like play with it. Because our culture, or instability, exists that word?
Uncertainty, yeah.
Uncertainty,
Yeah.
that we live every day. I mean, our governments change all the time. We are never secure what is going to happen. You have to live in a uncertain context all the time. So you need to all the time reinvent yourself. You will need all the time to find new ways of here, actually we have fun doing that. I mean, for us it's fun. We enjoy it in a way, even though sometimes we complain about it. At the end, we want that. We want that uncertainty or that need to reinvent yourself all the time. And I want to share with you a mistake that we did. And it's not a mistake, it is a failure. And because I think that it's great sometimes when we share our failures. Because everybody that comes here, we just show the good things that they do. We want to show a failure that we have. And I will tell you what we learned about it. We will see first the case, and then I will tell you what we learned about it.
And the last one is the idea of dreaming Latin. I don't know if also because we're more idealistic or because we have to do things ourselves because our institutions and our governments won't do them for us. But we pursue things. We really think that anything is possible and we fight for our ideas and we fight to make things happen. And we act. It's not that we stay in the theoretical, dreamy world, but we actually act. And we want that our brands to do the same somehow. We're going to show you our latest project for which we actually could implement many of the learnings that we had with the other bike project, And it's a project for Corneto. Corneto is a brand on the territory of love. And we really insisted them, it's great to talk about love and to theorize about love and to express things around the world of love. But we wanted the brand to actually act and do something which will actually help people share the love. And this is the latest project.
Magnum was already a global brand when we began working with them in 2009. However, it seemed like they had hit a plateau. Their territory was well defined, adult pleasure, but their interpretation of it was that pleasure comes from guilt, from something that you should hide and apologize for. We understood that pleasure had evolved, and that nowadays young people understand that pleasure is a birthright, and so they feel and live pleasure in a much lighter, more open and visible way. And above all, without having to ask permission for it from anyone. Pleasure is a right, and as such, the brand evolved with it, showing the search for and discovery of pleasure. From that moment on, the brand managed to enter markets that were previously inaccessible and connect with many more people who could identify with this new open pleasure. Thanks to all of this, Magnum went from selling $400 million to being a billion-dollar brand, positioning itself amongst the most iconic brands in the world. Emotions sell, and understanding them is the shortest path to doing business.
Okay, basically that's it. I mean, there are three things that we want to summarize this. The first one is the importance of the emotions. I mean, the emotions are key to unlock the right purchase, it's key to connect with the consumer, with the people out there. This don't only consumer, with the people out there. And the Latin approach, the Latin way of thinking things is for for us is the best tool to unlock that emotions. That in the end bring us to the most important of what we are here is to sell more. I mean, if you use the Latin approach, it's more easy to unlock that emotions that will drive you to purchase, will drive you to make more money, that will brands and at the end do more money. It's proven, we try to prove it by this study, and that's it.
And we invite you to allow yourself to be much more emotional.